The speakers will take questions at the end of their presentation. Please use the chat box or the reactions. You can just simply raise your hand and I will share the spotlight with you. The moderator will remind the speaker 2 minutes before the time is up. So speakers, please be reminded that you have only 10 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for Q&A session. So lastly, certificates of appreciation will be presented at the end of each of the presentations. Certificates will be put up on the screen but will later be shared to the presenters to their respective emails. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will start the first presentation at 9:30 a.m. Meanwhile, we still have a few minutes left to spare, and I will continue sharing this screen with you as we admit more guests into the session. Thank you.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I have a few technical notes to explain. I can see that there are still people coming in, so I will explain the ground rules again. As you can see on the screen, now I have shared with you the ground rules for today's session. For presenters, please ensure your Zoom ID is named as follows: paper ID _ name. For guests, please ensure your Zoom ID is named as follows: name _ organization, that is your name _ your organization. We would like to seek everyone's cooperation to please mute their microphones during the presentation. A virtual background is provided for this meeting, so please apply accordingly. Please note that this session will be recorded for documentation purposes. The speaker will take questions at the end of the presentation, so please make full use of the chat box or the reactions. You can simply just raise your hand and I can share the spotlight with you. The moderator will remind the speaker 2 minutes before the time is up. So speakers, presenters, please be reminded that you have 10 minutes for your presentations and 5 minutes for the Q&A session. Lastly, certificates of appreciation will be presented at the end of each of the presentations. Certificates will be put up on the screen and will later be shared to the presenters to their respective emails. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will start the first presentation at 9:30 a.m. But before that, I will introduce you to our moderators for today. Today we have two moderators, Mr. Dr. Udita and Engineer Chin Lee Tak. So our first moderator is Dr. Udita Ratnayak. Dr. Udita serves as a senior assistant professor in civil engineering in University Technology Brunei. His current research interests are on hydrological impacts on climate change, channel and river flow hydraulics, food analysis and infiltration process. Our second moderator is Engineer Chen Lee Tak. Engineer Chen holds Chartered Engineer status and has 5 fellowships. He is a registered professional engineer and practicing engineer for the Board of Architect, professional engineer and quantity surveyor. Engineer Chen also serves as the Secretary General for Puja Brunei. So Dr. Udita and Engineer Chen, on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank you for your time. I will now pass the floor to you, Dr. Udita, for the first session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Rafika. Good morning, everybody. So, before we start today, the proceedings today, so let me thank Puja Brunei and the organizers of CAFEO39 for giving me this opportunity to moderate this session. And also, I welcome all the presenters as well as the participants to this session of CAFEO39 and the parallel session number 2 of 2nd December 2021. So without any delays, so let's start the proceedings for the day. And our first presenter is Balamurali Balakrishnan from Malaysia. And he'll be presenting on attitude towards sustainable development education among Malaysians and Indonesian engineering students, a comparative study. Over to you, Mr. Balamurali.
Thanks a lot, Doctor, moderator. I would like to actually share my screen. So I really hope that the host could enable me to share my screen. of the PowerPoint?
I think you
Yes,
can
sir.
go
You may share the
All
presentation
right.
now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm able to do that now. So I really hope that all of you can actually see the presentation slide clearly.
ahead.
Is it okay, Dr. Udita?
Yes, it's clear.
All
Yes.
right. Okay. Thank you very much. A very good morning to Dr. Moderator again, and also to the other participants of this CAFEO39. Today, I'm going to actually looking into the aspect of engineering education. Since this is because my research interest, so I'm looking at the engineering education per se, and focusing on the attitude towards sustainable development education among Malaysian and Indonesian engineering students. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. I'm Bala Muralidhara Balakrishnan, Associate Professor at the Sultan Idris Education University and also member of Institute of Engineers Malaysia. Today's presentation is going to be divided into four elements. The first one is the introduction. Second is the methodology of the study, the findings and discussion, and the conclusion. It's going to be very short presentation. So let us move on to the first slide here, to the first element here, the introduction. Okay, so sustainable development is defined as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their needs. So practicing sustainable development is essential to protect our world from any developments that could cause harm to human beings and the environment. So as you can see that we as an engineers, all right, and also those who are in the education line, producing future engineers, okay, play a very vital role in actually to educating and exposing the proper appropriate knowledge, skills, and values, most importantly, the values of sustainability to the engineers in order to protect the world from any developments that could cause harm to the human beings and the environment. Because we engineers are actually those very important, plays a very vital role in terms of sustainability and sustainable development, because we are one of the key person that actually plays a very vital role in terms of development, right? So as we know that in SDG 2030, all right, there are 17 goals with 169 indicators, all right? In order to meet all these things, we have to make sure that we actually expose to our students the appropriate knowledge, skills, and values of the sustainable development. So sustainable development is comprised of three main dimensions that are related to the quality of the life. All right. It's mainly the elements that actually related to sustainable development, social, economy, and environmental. These are the pivotal in determining humanities of life and should be given the utmost priority regarding any activities that carried out by the engineers. All right. So when we are actually talking about developing, just give an example. When we talk about developing electric car, for an example, yes, it is going to actually save the environment, all right, and in terms of the climate change and so on, reducing the carbon emission. But how much the price of the electric car nowadays? Could a normal person could afford to buy that car? So if you just focusing on one aspect of sustainability, all right, and disregard another aspect of sustainability, we are not going to achieve the sustainable development itself, because the sustainable development is comprising all these three dimensions as well, right? So education for sustainable development is an important platform in integrating the appropriate knowledge, skills, and values to infuse the fundamental concept of the sustainable development in higher education institutions, especially for the engineering programs. All right. So in the engineering programs itself, we can see here that there are many things that we can actually see that how this particular education for sustainable development has been implemented. All right. So, all right. So what we can see here that education for sustainable development in engineering education. Especially, there are many ways we are actually preaching the sustainable development to the students. They can be a standalone subject, all right, or it is integrated in the technical subject itself, or it is also being exposed to the students through their co-curriculum activities and so on. So these are the things that we are doing in higher education institutions, especially in the context of Malaysia and Indonesia higher education institutions. All right, so Engineering Accreditation Council of Malaysia, all right, EAC, and Indonesian Accreditation Board of Engineering Education, all right, have emphasized that all engineering undergraduates must undergo the course related to the sustainable development and sustainability during the study, right? So the ultimate purpose of ESD, the Education for Sustainable Development, is to build the holistic engineers who has a strong professional values, who is able to act and take decisions to protect the well-being of mankind and protect the environment. The attitude towards sustainable development among the Malaysian and Indonesian students are not a well-researched area, basically, because as we are actually preaching this sustainable development and sustainability to the engineers, future engineers, we actually have to know, right, how this particular education that we gave to them, actually they preserve it, right? In terms of the preservedness of this particular knowledge, skills and values of sustainability, all right? So that is where I'm doing the study on the attitude itself. So this study aimed to look into this matter, okay, how the attitude towards the sustainable development among the future engineers, all right? So that means among the engineering undergraduates in Indonesia and Malaysia. So this is the second part, that is the methodology. That is what I'm actually, the way that I'm doing this study. So the following research issues were studied in this investigation, whereby I'm looking at the level of attitude among the sustainable towards sustainable development among Malaysian and Indonesian undergraduates, all right, engineering undergraduates. The study focused on the attitude towards sustainable development among Malaysian and Indonesian engineering undergraduates who underwent ESD, the Education of Sustainable Development, in their respective engineering program. So it can be a standalone subject, or it can be a subject that integrated with the technical subject, or even it can be also activities that related to sustainable development they have actually undergo during their studies. All right. So this particular study has been done, consists of 73 respondents from University A, Indonesia. I cannot reveal the university name because I didn't get the permission to reveal their name, and 72 from University B, Malaysia. All right, were randomly selected from the 2 higher education institutions. But these particular students, the respondents, were the final year students. All right, because it's very essential for us to look at the final year students' attitude, because we are going to be the professional engineers in a few months' time. All right, so this is where I think it is important for us to look into this group of students. So all the participants have learned the subject or a topic related to sustainable development. So this is the criteria that they should meet in order for them to answer the questionnaire. All right. So the questionnaire is actually just a 4-point Likert scale that has been used, and there are actually 3 dimensions has been actually been measured. Okay, especially in terms of the social, economy, and the environment. So the findings and discussion now, right? So what do we actually find out? So out of these 12 items, all right, 12 items that have been given, that consists of the combination of social element, economical element, and environmental element, we could see that, all right, a part of these 2, that is the item 10 and item 12, the others are actually scored a good mean values. So it means that they have a good attitude, the positive attitude, except for the item number 10 and item number 12 for both universities. For both universities in Malaysia, students in Malaysia, engineering students in Malaysia, and also engineering students in Indonesia. So we could say that they can actually share the same attitude, all right, towards these 2 item issue. So what are they actually? So let us do looking at the discussion part here. So both respondents here, we can see that, all right, from University A and University B have a positive attitude towards the protection of environment, conservation of biodiversity, and social equity. That means the social justice. So they actually aware about that, and they have a positive attitude towards that. That is very good. All right. So it means that the exposure towards the environmental sustainability and social equity, all right, has been well developed in this particular institution, engineering programs in these particular institutions. All right. The University A, Indonesia, and University B, Malaysia. Somehow we can see that in terms of the item 10 and 12, okay, it recorded a low mean values which measure the attitude of the respondents on economic and social equality issues. So we can see that this particular aspect, okay, has not been given priority in the education for sustainable development. Thus, it is actually make the students have a low attitude towards that. So it is important for the related stakeholders, okay, for example, the curriculum developer, the engineering educators, and even the higher education institutions, all right, in order to make sure that this particular aspect also covered well in terms of the engineering education, so that we can actually bring and develop a proper, I would say, a holistic engineer, all right, who can actually fulfill the agenda of Sustainable Development Goals of 2030. Because as we know that SDG 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030 should comprise the social, economy, and environmental aspect. These
you have 2 minutes. Yeah, you have 2 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I'm already come to the conclusion, sir. Yeah. All right. So it is clearly shows that EST in Malaysian and Indonesian higher education institution have played its role, all right, in educating engineering undergraduates on sustainability issues in terms of environmental and social equity. But in terms of the economic and social equality, there is an issue which we need to tackle. So please reflect back on your own curriculum. Okay, if there are educators here, all right, reflect back on your own curriculum, whether we are actually make the effort in order to bring our students to understand about the Sustainable Development Goals equally, all right? That means they have an equal mindset in terms of the social, economy, and environment, all right? So an holistic approach and action need to be placed in every higher education institutions to build future engineers who has a sense of responsibility towards sustainability issue. So with that, terima kasih and thank you. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Murulidaran. So it is very interesting actually being also being in the university to hear about this one. Right, so let me ask any from the audience if there are any questions or anything to be clarified from the presenter. You may raise your hand or you can type in the chat box. Okay, just to ask until somebody is raising any questions. So the when you are teaching the sustainability, are you teaching it as a module or is it integrated into the other modules?
Okay, so as I already told you, sir, actually the sustainable development aspects or in terms of the knowledge and so on has been actually exposed to the students in terms of standalone subject. For example, we do have one subject called engineering and society, where we actually expose to them on the sustainable development and how the engineering actually can help in terms of achieving the sustainable development goals and so on. And at the same time, there are also other universities, okay, around the ASEAN region, okay, from my study. They're also having this, like this a module that actually, cater for sustainable design courses and so on. And some other institutions also, they're integrating in their technical subject. For example, when they're teaching power electronics, for example, there are one subject called green technology for sustainability. All right. So these are the subjects that have been integrated, all right, in order to expose the future engineers with sustainability knowledge, skills, and values.
Is there any minimum requirement kind of thing?
The minimum requirement, yes. The minimum requirement, there's because when we look at the Engineering Accreditation Council of Malaysia and also from Indonesia, one of the very important aspect that they have actually mentioned there is the program learning outcome. All right, in the program learning outcome, there should be an issue of sustainable development to be discussed. So at least there should be, okay, one subject discuss about that sustainable development. But what actually I found out here through my study is that the importance being given on the aspect of the environmental. There is no doubt about that. All right. Yes, we all know about environment issue. All the future engineers know about this. Okay, the engineering undergraduates. But when it comes for the social and economical equality, all right, this is where I think we are actually not giving a focused, okay, a very important focus. Because as I already told you earlier, what is the use of developing an electric car that could actually reduce the carbon emission when a normal person, okay, maybe like me, okay, in Malaysia, I'm not afford to buy that car. All right, it's only for those who are actually having, those who are in the higher income group can buy that car. All right, even the organic food, for an example, when we are actually mentioning, all right, the organic food that has been, sold in the supermarket and so on, the normal people cannot buy that. So the sustainability is not only for that, higher income group. It should be for the whole population. So that is where we as an engineer should actually able to think in that way. So when you're developing a car, for example, electric car, make sure it is affordable for all group of people. So that is the concept that I'm trying to bring here, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Balamurithara. So let me, okay, at the end, I think there'll be a certificate presentation. So over to you, Rafika.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Doctor. I would now like to call upon the presenter, Mr. Balamuralitara Balakrishnan. Apologies for any mispronunciation.
No
to
problem.
receive the certificate of appreciation for his presentation on attitude towards sustainable development, education among Malaysian and Indonesian engineering students, or comparative studies. Thank you, sir, for your time and your participation in today's event.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I pass the floor back to our moderator, Dr. Udita.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rafika. So we will move on to the next presentation. It will be again from Malaysia, Ye Wong and Lim Cho Hock. So how CDS technology can help to retrofit and upgrade existing aging stormwater infrastructure into smart stormwater treatment system in order to improve water quality and mitigate flash floods for better resilience in the face of climate change and extreme weather events. Over to you, Mr. Ye Wong.
By the way, can you see me?
Oh, yes, yes. Right now.
Okay. Good morning,
Good morning.
distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'd like to present this paper titled How CDS Technology Can Help to Retrofit and Upgrade the existing aging stormwater infrastructure into smart stormwater treatment systems in order to improve the water quality and mitigate flash flood for better resilience in the face of climate change and extreme weather. So I'm the presenter, the author. I represent EcoClean, Empire Green, and Bloom Era, which is a Brunei company. Our co-author is Dato Engineer Lin Chao Hock. Many of you know him. He's our deputy chairman. The vision of company, of course, is clean, green, and ecosystems. So next, sorry, just need the cursor move. Just 1 minute. Okay, next slide. So what is CDS technology? It stands for continuous defective separations. I explained to you how CDS works. This is
Excuse me,
actually
sir.
yes.
You are not sharing your screen if you are showing any presentation.
Okay. Yes. So you got this?
Yes, okay, right.
Okay. Okay. So first, you can follow my cursor. What happens is during the raining time, the polluted runoff will carry stress and debris along with the stormwater into the existing drain, and we construct a weir right across, and this to divert the water into our CDS unit. This unit is called CDS, and forming a vortex. Special screen, which is housed at the separation chamber, it causes the water to reverse flow in an opposite direction vortex. By doing so, the heavy particles are forced to settle down, and anything lighter will remain afloat, and anything neutral buoyant will remain in suspensions. The water continue going through the waterway, it passes through an oil retention buffer, which actually means it will skim up any floating oil. But you know that when water gets into this situation, it gets emulsified, and often the hydrocarbon will stick to the fine sediment and silt. So eventually it will settle down and in the bottom. Next. Sorry. Okay. So this is actually a non-blinding or non-blocking technology utilizing vortex forces. It has a high rate of physical separation of gross pollutant from stormwater. It can remove about almost 100% of all gross pollutant, around 100 micron. It can remove oil and grease. So comparing the two current technology for GPT, short form for gross pollutant threat, CDS compared to the direct screening, you can see the difference. The screen for the direct screen also serves as a storage. So with the law of diminishing returns, often the efficiency is very low and you cannot actually predict the flow. Whereas the CDS technology, often known as the third generation, which is still the only one in the world, utilizes a screen. The screen is so designed that it causes deflection on the opposite direction. The water actually travels in tangential to the screen, so also cause self-dancing effects. So the screen is working all the time, whereas the gross pollutant are stored beneath in a separate chamber. You can see this is a continuous and predictive flow. Therefore, engineers can develop known modeling parameters and calculations to size any CDS for that matter. Okay, Malaysia alone, we have actually done more than 500 unit of CDS over 20 years, including we have also exported some to China and some to Singapore. And the River of Life, the first phase, utilized about 300 GPT, of which a large number are actually CDS, but it was also equally distributed to other brands, such as what you see here, Green Sol and Downstream Defender and various different names. So the study is conducted as a post-monitor studies by UNITAN, University of Energy, Malaysia, together with Department of Drainage. It shows that CDS perform best in these situations. The paper was also presented by Professor Naria and his associates in the ICUD in year 2014. You look at the histogram, you can see this is not only trapping solid, it actually also removing the pollutant, like the pollution actually is like BOD, COD, suspended solids, ammonia. This paper actually point has a very high degree of removing this BOD and COD. So this paper actually is trying to shed some light on how we can use engineering in the face of addressing the climate change. So we also wanted to have the end product to meet the SDG. And also, we want to actually show you a case project of how we retrofit existing and new drainage system, upgrade it to first also to mitigate flood and also calculate for future of seawater rising and so on. So at least the cities in the coastal side will not get flooded in the long run. So the water quality is upgraded as well to the international standard of class, or standard A for sewage, or class 3 for water quality. So this project was carried out in Port Dickson, all right, and the rapid development of the township. The water in the city center is badly degraded over the years. The city council actually awarded us to task to plan, upgrade, and refit the existing stormwater by introducing the CDS around the catchment, and also to make sure that when water is discharged, not only it satisfies the quality, it also able to meet the 100 years flood event. The studies shows that we have actually also sewer infiltration from septic tanks, also direct discharge from some of the squatters and new village upstream, which is the sludge water from their kitchen. And we identified 4 areas. 4 areas, their water quality is too bad. It's the areas like wet market, typical wet market Malaysia, and also the food court or hawker stalls, in the open air, and others where large people are congregated. So these are the area we actually introduced sludge water treatment plant. So we borrowed the idea of Professor Tony Wong from Monash University, who happened to be actually the researcher and development of CDS in the early days, and it before it actually patented and marketed in Australia and now the world. So Professor Tony Wong advocated that instead of cities, they are developing in stages, like from water supply, sewer, drain, waterway, water cycle to water sensitive cities. Developed countries, take the case for Singapore and other cities, they can actually leapfrog to become water sensitive cities. However, he also said that developing country, such as Malaysia and other Asian countries, I suppose, we can catch up to become a water sensitive cities by also leapfrog. In fact, he stated that the developing countries have even better chance of becoming water sensitive since they have not invested heavily into old and single purpose systems. So these are the steps we do. because this is a design and build, so we collect the parameter, we calculate, we simulate the conditions, we account for all the parameters, and then we are trying to achieve, of course, the class 3, which is the target. The point here we want to make use is we are not allowed to use electricity. In fact, that imposes a bigger challenge. So just show you an old picture of the drainage system where we have not retrofit. It gives you actually a very foul and smell. The water is black in color. It's full of rubbish, full of debris. Because it's an open drain, so people throw all kind of actual rubbish into the place. So what we have done is generally the CDS is about, we have used I think more than 10. It will cover the whole catchment or the center part of the old townships. However, the four places where the water quality is very bad and smelly, we have to actually introduce further treatment system or process, which I use the word polishing. So what happens is this polish treatment plant, we divert the first flush from the drain into first bioreactor treatment. Then after the bioreactor treatment, it gone through a further treatment of using secondary treatment, using this pumice as a media bed. And this is how it's been constructed after the installations. Just a picture of it. This is not rubbish, by the way. I think it's a monitor research at the picture. So you listen to one of my visitors from overseas.
You
He
have
commented
2 minutes.
the S4.
2 minutes.
Okay, I skipped that a bit. Okay, by the way, we have actually presented this paper 10 years ago. The title was Managing Beyond Stormwater Treatment. This is the time we actually retooled our own R&D to develop what we have now as current salvage water. In between, I think we also introduced nanotechnology, which actually use nano kind of activated carbon to polish the water, and this is very compact. And recently, in fact, August this year, my Datuk Lim Chao Ho and myself, we actually present a paper to Singapore International. It is a project on a high rise. We use the water, reuse and reuse it to do aquaponics. So this is the current project that we have, which is actually a treatment plant in the Kuala Lumpur. Is the phase 2 of our River of Life. You can see the water here, which is actually at the equalization tank. In fact, another one is actually from the intake, the influence. And you can see actually at the outlet, which is the effluence, the water is actually bluish. In fact, I typically invite my friends. I say, if you like to dive in next to the Compact River, I show you this place. Okay, we have taken so far water sample. From the color, you can tell the difference. And the target that we are asked to do is actually class 2B, but we actually show the histogram. What we have actually achieved is, the blue line is actually class 2A. The red line is actually our result. We have selected 6 parameters. You can see the PS has improved, the BOD has improved, and COD, TSS especially, all right, and oil increase. So in other words, we have actually just one more steps towards able to reuse the water and achieving closed circular economy. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yerwang. Yes, now the presentation is open for discussion. Any questions or clarification needed? please raise your hand or type in the chat box.
There is a question in the chat box from Mr. Kwe Niwe.
Could you please read it? I cannot see.
If
It's not yet
if it is
uploaded.
possible for them to request a soft copy of the presentation.
Oh,
Yeah, there's no problem. I think we will send these slides, final slides to Pooja for you all to distribute if you want to.
Okay, thank you, sir.
okay, thank you. Yes, just one question. How much space do you need for a typical size of this unit?
Okay, the latest one which I show you, it is actually it is a treatment plant completely underground in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, next to the Kompat River, which is the main river going through the city of Kuala Lumpur. It's a project under by the City Hall jointly with the Department of Drainage. So it is for 5 million liters per day, or rather designed for say 100 liters per second. So it's a huge flow actually. And at the moment we're also designing for another countries and pending for approval. It is actually like 5 cubic meters per second. We are talking about treating very large volumes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yel Wong, for your informative presentation. So it's for the time for the certificate presentation. Over to you, Rafika.
Thank you, Doctor. I would now like to invite Mr. Yel Wong to receive the certificate of appreciation for his presentation on how CDS technology can help to retrofit and upgrade existing aging stormwater infrastructure into smart stormwater treatment system in order to improve water quality and mitigate flash floods for better resilience in the face of climate change and extreme weather events.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your time and your participation in today's event. Thank you. Now I pass the floor back to you, Dr. Udita. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rafika. So it is time for the third presentation. Be from Brunei. So it is Mr. Lee Kok Hon, Sultan Haji Omar Ali Saifuddin Bridge. So implementation journey towards sustainable development. Over to you, Mr. Lee Kok Hon.
Thank you, Doctor, and good morning, everybody. Let me just pull up my slides. Do you see my slide?
Yes, here.
Okay. The topic of my presentation is Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin Bridge, implementation journey towards sustainable development. So I was the project director for this, for the Ministry of Development, for the construction stage of this bridge. And I was also involved since its inception while I was working for the Department of Roads in the ministry. So a bit of background on this project. Sultan Haji Omar Ali Saifuddin Bridge, or SWAS Bridge, is a tribute to the late father of His Majesty the Sultan Haji Hassan Bolkiah. It was open to traffic March last year. It connects the main part of Brunei Darussalam to the Tamburung districts, which was separated, which is separated by the Brunei Bay. So in the past, transportations to Tamburung was either by water, which is the solid blue route on the map, or by land through Sarawak, Malaysia, which is the one indicated in pink.
I think your
Physical connections was recognized way back in the mid-1960s.
Excuse me, sir. Your
Sorry.
presentation is not moving.
Sorry?
Sorry, your slides are not moving. Your presentation.
Do you see my slides?
Yes, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
stuck
not
on the
moving.
first page.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
It is stuck on the first page, your presentation.
Come again?
Yeah, it is. The slides are not moving. We can
Oh,
see.
slides are not moving.
Yes.
You seeing it?
Still the first one.
Still the first one.
Yeah.
Are you seeing it?
No.
Yes, it is still on the first page.
Oh dear.
Would you like me to share your presentation for you?
Sorry?
Would you like me to share the presentation for you? Share the screen from my side?
Okay.
Okay, sure.
I stop mine. Huh?
All right. Could you send me the file, please?
Should I load it again?
Yes, sir. Could you please load it again? One last try.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you put it on slideshow? Yes. On slideshow mode.
You see anything?
Still the first page. Could you please click on view and try the slideshow mode.
Okay.
You see anything?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, sir.
Is it moving?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I was on this page before we had some technical issue. So like I said, the Brunei government decided to proceed with the feasibility study for physical connection in the mid-2000s. So our journey started with a tender for expression of interest for the feasibility study of a bridge link, which was opened in May 2009. So OV Arup and Rakan, in association with the OV Arup partner Hong Kong, were appointed in March 2010 for this project, for the feasibility study. So 4 routes options were investigated. The option 3 was recommended in orange. It's the shortest route, the least impact to environment, local community, and also it's the cheapest. It has the lowest estimated cost. So in April 2012, the feasibility study concluded with a bridge link, which was technically feasible, economically viable, and that the environment impact can be managed and mitigated using the current construction methods and design. In July 2012, His Majesty the Sultan announced during his 66th birthday the outcome of the study and consented for the implementation of this bridge. And OBRUP, with the support of ARUP Hong Kong, was appointed for the implementation of this project. And then MWH was appointed to prepare the EIA report and also the Environmental Mitigation Management Plan, which was later incorporated in the major construction contract for this project for the contractors to comply with. Master plan program was used to effectively monitor and track the design, procurement, and construction of this project. And we have our project management consultant, Utamakon, and also TY Lin International Joint Venture. And our legal advisor was Ashes and Ahmad Issa and partner. The condition of contract adopted for this job was FIDIC, the Red Book, first edition, with customization to suit Brunei law and also conditions. Some technical detail of this project. The total length of the proposed bridge link is approximately 30 kilometers. Started from Jalan Utama Mentiri, Brunei Muara district, crosses the Brunei Bay, and then crosses the Labu Mangrove and Forest Reserve, and terminates at Jalan Kuni Labu Tamburong. The construction was split into smaller contracts. The red one is the navigational and ramp. The blue one is the marine viaduct. The green is the land viaduct at Tamburong. And then we also have one package for the power supply for the bridge and also traffic surveillance. The dotted purple is a section which to be implemented in the future. The bridge was the configuration of the lane was a two-lane carriageway. Box girder design was adopted for the marine viaduct. Cable stay bridge was designed for the Brunei River section, and twin tower cable stay bridge was designed for the Eastern Channel at the Brunei Bay to facilitate marine vessel movement. Short span beam and deck bridge was designed for the Tamburong Land Viaduct. The bridge was designed using Eurocode for 120 years design life. And major design for the cable stay bridge, the marine viaducts and tunnels were checked by Kobe and Osman Associate, our independent checking engineer. Just like to bring you through the three major project construction contracts for this project. The marine viaduct cost about 629 million. Took about 57 months to construct. It was awarded to Dalim and Sui joint venture. Prior to the marine construction activities, 100-meter wide channel along the whole marine alignment had to be dredged. And 1.5 million tons of material was dredged and deposited at the headland of Pulau Perapatan, which is next to the bridge, as you can see from the photo. About 22 hectares of land was reclaimed. The reclamation work has indirectly minimized the environmental impact to water and marine life near offshore Champion oil field, which was the designated dumping site 40 kilometers away. The piles that were used were the 1 meter diameter concrete span pile for the marine clay sections, and 1 meter and 1.6 meter diameter steel pipe piles for the shallower hard strata sections. Segmental precast box girder was core for this contract. However, the successful contractor value engineered and used the 50-meter full span precast box girder instead. As part of the contractor's method, they have specially built a twin cantilever launching girder, as seen in the picture, to launch 2 box girder at one time. This one is the first in the world for such a launching method. This is a typical section of the marine viaduct sitting on a raised pile cap, and the pier varies from 2 meters to 27 meters. So that's the configuration of the bridge viaduct. For the navigational bridge and the ramps, it costs about 24.2 million. No, 241.9 million, and took about 47 months to construct. Again, this was awarded to Dalim Sui joint venture. The pile used on this navigational bridge was 2.2 meter bore pile. The curve of the tower was cast using auto climbing formwork. This is the section of the bridge. The left side is the Eastern Channel Bridge. The right side is the Brunei Channel Bridge. The main span of the Brunei Channel Bridge is 145 meters, whilst the main span for the Eastern Channel Bridge, which is shown in the photo, is 260 meters. For the land viaduct, it cost 427 million and took 50 months to construct. The contract was awarded to China State Construction Engineering Corporation and Ocean Quarry Construction Joint Venture. This contract is located in an environmentally sensitive area. So the contract called for top-down construction method, which is, I believe, is the first in this region. So no machineries and equipment were allowed to work on the ground. So only 40 meters wide corridor was cleared for construction to minimize impact to the environment. Temporary steel trestle bridge were constructed from 4 work front for the access of machineries and material for construction. So that is the photo showing the top-down construction method. The pile used here were the 0.9 meter diameter concrete span pile for shots, generally for that bridge, but with a short section using 0.9 meter diameter bore pile, where stiffer mud stones and boulders were encountered. Okay, this is a section of the bridge. It has a cross beam, raised cross beam, which support T-beams where they are stitched together, forming the deck of the bridge. So here I'd like to highlight some of the key success factors for the success completion of this job. Stakeholders and strong political will and their commitment and their shared common objective has contributed to this success of the project. Decision making and resolution for issues were promptly solved. And the second one is the engagement of a reputable consultant for such a vast project is paramount important, where right strategies and design procurement methods were done right from the start. And rigorous assessment of tenderers and their submission prior to recommendation and award of contract is important. Though it takes a bit of time, but it's worth the time to really select the right people for the job. Adoption of effective use of project management tool. In this case, we use the Primavera P6, where resources management and to monitor their productivity to meet schedules are important, making sure that they are realistic. And strong teamwork and collaboration between the project team members is very important. everybody work in sync to make sure issues are resolved promptly. And the combined relevant experience of the group and also the bridge secretariat is important also to manage these projects to its completions. So in conclusion, the Swash Bridge will remain as the biggest civil engineering project ever undertaken by Brunei government. The opening of the bridge connections have witnessed an impetus to socio-economic development and the improvement to emergency services and security for Tamborong. So many first innovations were introduced with the drive towards sustainable development and minimizing and mitigating environmental impact. And successful implementation of this project with minimum technical issues and contractual dispute is really commendable. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee Kok On. Is there any, okay, so let the opening the floor for any discussion, questions, or any clarifications. Please raise your hand or type in the chat box. If not, I'd like to, sorry. Yes, hello.
Hello. Yeah.
You're very faint.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Is there any design for safety and design for
Sorry, sir, your voice is very faint. It's far away.
Now, is it better?
Still the same.
Okay, I already keyed in. I sent it to the speakers. Maybe the speakers can check.
Sorry, I can't hear the question.
Maybe I repeat the question. Is design for safety and design for sustainability being considered for this project?
Doctor, could you?
Mr. Jason, maybe you can type out your question on the chat box.
I see two questions on the chat box. The first one, has the project looked into design and safety and design for maintainability? Yeah, design of safety, like I say, yeah, the design check was done by our checking engineer, Kovi from Denmark. Those parts were actually addressed, and design for maintainability. I think those the design was is more or less like a conventional design, which is similar to some of the, especially the navigational bridge, which is similar to some of the bridge done worldwide, which is very common these days. So that part of it is being addressed. It's not a very unique bridge as such in terms of design, in the what you call the structure. So they are being looked at and yeah, taken into account. Then the second question is there a service road next to the highway in the jungle, which are foreseeable maintenance and repair works? Do you see for the next 120 years? Actually, on this bridge, we have emergency opening every 2 kilometers So in case of major incidents or maintenance that require diversions, so those certain section of the highway can be diverted to the opposite lane with proper traffic management scheme. So that one is taken into account of, but not a service road as such.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lee Kok Ong.
Yeah, thanks for the sharing.
So let's move on. For the certificate presentation, it's over to you, Jessica.
Thank you, Doctor. I would now like to invite Mr. Yi Kok On to receive the Certificate of Appreciation for his presentation on Sultan Haji Omar Ali Saifuddin Bridge Implementation Journey Towards Sustainable Development.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your time and your participation in today's event. Back
You're
to you,
welcome.
Dr. Odita. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for our next presentation, it is from Singapore, Jason Obun. And the topic is design for safety and design for maintenance towards sustainability. Over to you, Mr. Jason.
Thank you for the introduction. I would like to share my presentation.
Yeah, your voice is very faint.
Yes, my voice is not very clear. Is it better now?
No, I think, is it possible for you to use the computer microphone?
I have actually, is it better or still connect? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, okay, maybe you can carry on.
Maybe we just proceed, yeah. So my topic for today will be design for safety and design for maintainability. The main direction is towards sustainability. As we only given about 10 minutes, so I will touch on some basic concepts. Vision Zero actually is part of design for safety and design for maintainability is actually a subset of Vision Zero. And Singapore with one Vision Zero movement and earlier back in 2015, with the main vision prevent all injury and be happy at work. And in 10 November this year, IES we actually signed a Vision Zero patch with telling about Deputy Prime Minister. I would like to share a short video clip to you. Are you able to see the video clip?
No. I think it is not loading. I think, is it yeah, it's getting delayed. Maybe you can continue. Hello. We cannot hear you. Hello. Could you please continue? It's getting delayed.
I hope you all can see the video.
No.
It's not showing, Mr. Jason. FP.
I think you can move into the other parts.
During our presentation, the video short clip is actually
Mr. Jason?
yes, can you see my PowerPoint slide?
No, it was your presentation was stuck at this page. Would you like me to play it for you?
Yeah, so maybe it'll be better. I take some help after the picture goes back. You want me to stop sharing?
Sorry, Mr. Jason, your voice is not clear.
Is it better now? Hello.
Yeah, I think if you use your computer microphone, I think it will be better. Probably it is something wrong with the mic.
Is it better now? Hello.
It's same. Yeah.
Still the same, huh? Well, how to resolve it? Yeah, very far away and computer don't seem to work.
Sorry. Yeah.
Maybe just show my PowerPoint slide at the same time.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So at least can move and maybe it's easier.
Sorry, would you like me to change the slide?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, to the next page.
Yes. So this was flash actually signed and was actually presented. So I'll have to be Prime Minister. Okay, next. So moving forward, although we have just a great job as you can see in the back, so we hope with Singapore way of approach, we can influence other parts of the world to do it together. Yeah. Next. Moving forward, Singapore, we have achieved quite a significant milestone in terms of our workplace safety and health. But we know that this is still not good enough. So we are continuing to push forward to protect more workers, saving them from all these injuries. And we believe all these injuries are preventable, are achievable. Next. Okay, next. So these are latest workplace safety health statistics this year, June 2021. We just want to let you know that things are moving and we have been encountered some challenging results, but we are still pushing on and make more workers safe. Next. So for this year's around June, you can see that the statistics actually went up a little bit, but moving forward, we believe that this should be sustainable. Next. So we believe that in order to change, we need to have a mindset change. This mindset is a fundamental and a basic to make changes. So if the thought process not change, many things cannot change. So action can only change when we start to change our thought. Next.
So paradigm shift is basically to let us see the different perspective. So we have different partners seeing different things, but I think importantly is that if both see the common angles, then we can move things together. Right? Next. So this is basically a mindset change of developers and the contractors. We want contractors today to bear less construction safety wise today can design out. So this is basically a fundamental way of looking forward. So now, if we can share the mindset, then you can see the contractor now today the responsibility on the ground will be lesser. So developer designer, we expect them to hold a bigger responsibility. The reason is because they created the risk. So they created the development. So they must take more responsibility in terms of do a proper design and think through the design process to ensure that the contractor coming in can be constructed safely, maintained safely, and demolished safely. Next. So this is the way we see things in Singapore. We are getting lesser and lesser scaffolding, external scaffolding. So which means we have lesser cases of falling from height. So moving forward, we are using different kind of technology construction methods to actually make workers to construct the building more safer. So this is one method we are pushing, and Singapore has been doing it for the last 5 to 7 years. It's called the design for manufacturing assembly, DPPC. So it's just like a Lego that we stack together. All the finishes works, majority has been done in the factory. Next. So you can just keep flipping because there are a lot of photos. So at least you can just flip it. Yes. So design for safety is really a thinking process. If today we have a greenery, plants, and ask ourselves how to maintain, how to go and assess. And if you need to do watering, you can't be using crane and seasonally moving all the time. It's very costly. So this designer actually designed a panel that can flip over and perform all the maintenance work. So that actually is a thinking process. Next. So there are many references that PCA and MOM have actually, so these are the very good guidebooks and it is easily available. I would say that our Yasian partners, we can actually benefit from all of these guidelines. We can actually go to online and download some of these checklists and align with your culture and country practice. And if those are good practices, you can actually adopt. If you find that certain practices are not what you have been practicing, you can actually drop it and leave some form of template for the designer, for the developer to change the mindset towards something. Next. So this is a CAFEO39. We have actually get all the partners come to sign for the Vision Zero. And design for safety, design for maintainability is basically one of the concepts. And with this starting, we find that more and more partners in our Yasian is coming forward to move towards the Vision Zero. I really hope today most members are coming forward. And if you need any advisory from IES, from Singapore, do let us know because we will be very pleased to share with you how are we able to perform through certain Vision Zero program to enhance and to promote this Vision Zero. Next. So this is again in Indonesia. We have actually presented in Indonesia as well. Next. So in Malaysia, as you can see, Malaysia is actually also moving towards design for safety. They have actually started this whole thing in 2017 and was invited by CIDB to actually share and present design for safety, how design for safety can benefit Malaysia as well. Next. So design for safety and design for maintainability, it is together, and Malaysia these are moving towards Vision Zero for sustainability. If today we can build our building safe, of course, less fatalities and workers can move safely, and of course our quality can be sustained. was most of the material has been downloaded from this BCA MOM Council website. I thank them for the permission to share the information, and I also apologize that it might not work very well. I hope this PowerPoint is able to see, you're able to see, get some message from the PowerPoint. Yeah, thank you. Yes, that is a very short presentation just to bring you what we have done Vision Zero, and moving forward, we also hope to see more of the field members come forward to implement design for safety and design for maintenance. So I apologize for all the mic system that's not really working. Thank you.
Thank you very much, So the presentation is open for discussion. Also, I'm sorry for the quality of the sound. I think it's beyond our control.
Yes, apologize for the quality of the sound, and here a bit of raining. I believe that actually interferes some of the receptions, and nevertheless, I think the passion of everybody is here. Design for safety and design for maintenance is really, like I say, it is in for us to come together. So we are most willing to share with many partners in the field to think that you want to implement some of the Vision Zero or design for safety or design for maintenance.
Yes, really. Again, from the audience, is there any questions?
Maybe just have a check. I think we already signed the Vision Zero Pact in CAFEO39. How many countries have actually implemented Vision Zero? Do you have any idea?
Oh, not really, actually.
Yeah, you see,
Yes,
the reason is that if today the YAPIO come together and find a pact, they must be some form of action after it. So I hope, by sharing this, more YAPIO members can come forward and implement Vision Zero. Singapore, we already implemented, and you can see that institutional engineer Singapore, we are taking the lead. We are finding a patch to say that we want to move forward and continue the program. And we also know that Malaysia, they already started the design for 2017, very positive, which I think we hope in fact to come to maintain the design for safety. So for other part of the YAPIO members, I have not heard about it. I'm not sure whether they are aware of this signing the patch that was back in CAFEO39. Please look at it, because the thing is that it is only meaningful when we have action plan. So signing a pledge doesn't make us change. It's only the action plan that makes changes.
I agree with that. Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Jason. So it is over to you, Afika, for such a good presentation.
Thank you, Doctor. I would like to invite Mr. Jason O. Boon Chi. Apologies for any mispronunciation of the name. To receive the certificate of appreciation for his presentation on design for safety and design for maintainability towards sustainability.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir, for your time and your participation in today's event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next presentation. Presenter is Michael Lim from UK, how Scotland's railway prepares and manages for extreme weather events and climate change. Mr. Michael Lim, over to you.
Doctor,
Yes.
it's actually Miss Michelle Lim, and because of the time zone difference, she has pre-recorded her presentation for today.
Okay, right.
So I will just put up the video that she has sent us.
Right, okay, thank you.
Good day. I'm Michelle Lemsanyan, and today I'll be speaking about how Scotland's railway prepares and manages for extreme weather events and climate change. I've been working in Network Rail since September 2015, I was on a graduate engineering scheme, which involved rotating around different parts of the business and railway industry to learn about how the ecosystem works and fits in together. After leaving the scheme, I joined the maintenance department in the west coast of Scotland, then moved to the east coast of Scotland to manage the busiest railway track in Scotland. As a maintenance engineer, my sole responsibility was for the safety of the railway and those who used it, so I needed to ensure that it was safe and operating correctly, and I managed my team to do this. Thereafter, I joined a capital delivery department, which, as the name suggests, delivers large infrastructure projects that creates new railway tracks or enhances them. I currently am now working as a project engineer works delivery, delivering small-scale enhancements and renewals. So, Scotland's railway spans from the border with England to the far northeast tip of Scotland in Thurso. It is heavily used for social and economic use. And we have about 107 million annual passenger journeys, 295,000 passengers each weekday, and it makes up over 17% of Britain's total rail network. We have 2,500 passengers and 50 freight services per day. We have 4.4 million tons of products being transported to, from, and within Scotland between 2018 to 19. We own and maintain 4,715 bridges and manage 591 level crossings. We have 4,326 signals and 359 stations. Parts of our railway have been featured on many lists for having awe-inspiring backdrops and also featured in movies such as Harry Potter due to its historical and heritage assets, so we have a lot to consider and manage. So the UK climate is tricky because it lies in the battleground between warm tropical air to the south and cold polar air to the
Apologies for the disruption. We will continue with the video.
Air battle for control over the railway have been featured on many lists for having awe-inspiring backdrops and also featured in movies such as Harry Potter due to its historical and heritage assets, so we have a lot to consider and manage. So the UK climate is tricky because it lies in the battleground between warm tropical air to the south and cold polar air to the north. As two distinctly different types of air battle for control over the mid-latitudes, the UK experiences contrasting and changeable weather. The warm and North Atlantic drift significantly impacts the UK's climate. It carries warm water from the South Atlantic to the western shores of the UK. The prevailing southwesterly winds then spread these warmer conditions, giving the western part of the country mild winter. The origin and journey of the air mass can also affect the climate. We have polar maritime air mass that originates in the poles, and they travel over the Arctic Sea, so it brings cold and wet weather. Tropical continental air mass originates in the tropics and travels over land, bringing hot and dry weather to the UK. So what are the negative impacts of weather? Well, our buildings and civil assets are worse affected by heavy rainfall, with flooding and periods of high temperature affecting it. The failure rates for these assets rise when rainfall increases or is persistent for a period of time. There's a direct correlation between rainfall and flooding assets, which also affects buildings and civil assets. Mechanical and electrical assets include overhead line equipment, conductor rails, power and distribution systems. High temperature, cold snow, and ice, high wind speeds, and flooding have the biggest impact on these assets, as you can see. And then we have systems assets made up of engineering trains, wagons, road rail vehicles, and small plant. They're less vulnerable, but they can still be affected by weather parameters such as high temperature and rate of temperature change making the biggest impact. We also have track and switches and crossings, which consist of rail sleepers, ballast and points operating equipment, to mechanically move rails to switch trains from one track to another. Track and switches and crossings assets are vulnerable to high temperature, heavy rain flooding, and large temperature variations. Low temperature also affects rails and switches and crossings, including points operating equipment, because it can cause the rail break and switches and crossings failure. We also have the control and command systems, which include signaling, mechanical and electronic, level crossings, and communication systems for signaling systems and train controls. These assets suffer adversely from heavy rainfall, flooding, extreme heat, and large temperature variation. The negative impacts of the weather in Scotland affecting railway is categorized and listed below. Wind, subsidence, snow, lightning, heat, fog, flood, cold, and adhesion. So what are we doing to manage the weather and the effects of climate change in the short term? We're purchasing plants to help manage events that would take too long to be rectified by people. We are constantly monitoring using our intelligent infrastructure called radar, real-time asset data analysis for rail, to determine the state of our equipment. As part of this, we are also monitoring the weather constantly. If an extreme weather event occurs, then the head of integrated control, or senior on call, shall arrange and chair an extreme weather action teleconference called EWAT for short. And the purpose of the EWAT is to assess the impact of the forecasted extreme weather on the infrastructure, to determine mitigation, monitoring, and contingency plans, to communicate actions and decisions. The core attendants of the EWATs include representatives from operations, maintenance, asset management, operational planning, and the comms teams. Sometimes the train and freight operators will be invited to the EWAT conference to determine mitigation and contingency plans. These are the emergency timetables with reduced or no service. So what are we doing to manage the long term? Network Rail has created the Weather Resiliency Climate Change Adaptation Strategy, which is designed to help Network Rail achieve its vision of putting passengers first. The strategy will achieve this by ensuring that we have a railway that is safe and more resilient to the effects of weather and now in the future. The strategy will improve our understanding of the impacts of weather on our assets today and how they will change in the future. It will embed the consideration of these impacts into our daily activities, making weather resilience and climate change adaptation considerations business as usual. Successful implementation will mean that our assets will be better able to withstand the impacts of current and future weather events and able to recover more rapidly when they do occur. This leads to improved safety and performance under adverse and extreme weather conditions, reduce cost compensations and repairs, and enhance our reputation as reliable service. So successful delivery of this strategy will rely on integrating environmental sustainability into everything we do, delivering our commitments against the 6 key enablers shown, which will help us ensure that our strategy is a success. So we will be communicating with our employees, our people, communicating and engaging with external organization, integrating environmentally sustainability into the planning and funding, approaching research and innovation to support our technology, systems and processes, and measuring things so that we know what kind of key performance indicators we need to achieve. So delivery of the strategy also focuses on the organizational processes such as the government's engagement and monitoring, as well as 4 core pillars of activity as illustrated. Analyzing the risks and costs of weather events and climate change will improve our understanding of them, allowing us to integrate their consideration into business as usual. It would also better streamline our operational weather management and proactive investment so that the weather resilience climate change adaptation is business as usual. Although the central team will steer the implementation of the strategy, achieving its outcomes will require collaboration across Network Rail and beyond. This includes teams involved in the design, construction, maintenance, and operation of our assets, and external bodies such as the Office of Rail Regulators, Transport for Scotland, Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, utilities, etc. Our engineering asset disciplines are also developing these strategies and plans to help them update the associated standards and procedures to ensure that they consider climate change as well. One of the main issues facing network rail from adapting is the length of time taken to implement innovations. This is because network rail is a safety-critical organization. If an innovative material or product is introduced to the railway and it fails without anyone knowing, then it has the potential to create a disaster. Therefore, the culture within network rail is extremely risk-averse, and many people declining new ideas and innovations for fear of financial and reputational damages. To be faster in bringing in incremental changes, it would be helpful to ring-fence a budget solely for innovation and introduce lean working to expedite bureaucratic processes. This can empower employees by giving them more time, flexibility, and freedom to introduce innovation to their field. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed my talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shreya, and thank you, Vika, for playing it. And also, I apologize for the intruder. And I think there is a technical problem with internet quality. Well, anyway, I'll pass it over to Vika for presentation of the certificate.
Doctor, I will only email the certificate later to the presenter.
Yeah, but then you can,
Yes.
you can display it.
Okay, this is for. Okay, the presenter is not present today, but this will be sent to her email later on. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes my session this morning. And again, over to you, Rafika.
Thank you, Dr. Dr. Odita. I would now like to invite the next moderator, Engineer Chin Lee Tak, to proceed with the next session. Mr. Chin, the floor is now yours. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Can everybody hear what I'm talking?
Yes, Mr. Chen, we can hear you clearly. Yes.
All right. So this is the section under me. My name is Engineer Chin Lee Ta from Buja as a moderator 2. So this about noon time, 11:05, we will start the first speaker. So the first speaker will be Mr. Iwan Aung San Yet from Myanmar. So his topic of paper for the presentation is called A Comparative Study of Deformation in Various Wall Panels under the Impact of Cyclone Nagi Storm by using Finite Element Analysis. So I pass the floor to Mr. In Wind. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. May I share the screen? Hello, everyone. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, I can see.
Right. So hello. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Yawei Ang And today I would like to talk about the comparative study of the deformations in various wall panels under the impact of cyclone circuits thrown by using FE analysis. So before I go deeper, I would like to introduce a little bit about the conditions in Myanmar. So as everyone know, like tropical cyclone circuits actually surged in Myanmar back in May 2008 with a lot of fatalities, and also buildings were also largely destroyed, and the general public were not really prepared for their calamities. So in Myanmar right now, what people have been using is in substitutes of these, in preventing of these these calamities, it's they start to substitute the traditional bamboo mesh walls for the lightweight constructions with various wall panels, like and the reasons for this is like very fast big. They can be fast big and very cheaper priced, and they can be available everywhere. So, however, the general mechanical properties and the physical properties of each type of panels are often forgotten by these plywood constructions. So, as for that, today I would like to talk about a little bit about the properties of the wall panels. So in the study, I would like to use the 6 different wall panels. So they are namely cement board, they have the chipboard, gypsum board, plywood board, PPC, and WPC boards. So this is the properties that we use for the in the modeling the simulations. So we have this modulus elasticity, we have the flexural strength, which will be predetermined from the various sources. So after we have predetermined about these wall panels, we go to the wind speed. So as for the wind speed, how do we identify? It's that we use this, we convert the Saffir-Simpson scales from Saffir-Simpson scale to the 3-second guess wind speed, because in Myanmar national building codes, the 3 guessed wind speeds are actually being used. So we kind of like transformed the tropical cyclone circuit's highest wind records into the 3-second guess speed by using the various appropriate roughness and also very topographical factors by converting with the guess factors by 1.49. And afterwards, we also use the basic wind speed, which has been described in the Myanmar National Building Code, which is the 100 mile per hour for Yangon, Bugali, everything, where the cyclone circuits actually surged in 2018. So by using these 2 wind speed, one is basic wind speed, another one is narc speed. We would like to make their impact. We'd like to see their impacts upon how these material will react under these wind speed. So as for the calculations, we also consider as at the freestanding wall, because we want to see what is their maximum factual failures that could cause to these wall panels in terms of these wind study. We want to see the maximizations of these failure. We don't want to see any other frames or any other materials helping to distribute the load. So we want we consider this as the freestanding wall. The prototype will be the freestanding wall, which has where the base is the boundary condition for base is the fixed condition, and then we use the equations for the wind load, conversions of the wind load by considering as a freestanding wall by using QZ equal to 0.613 kz KT V squared by I. And then after we make the conversions from the wind speed to the, and then we make the conversions through the wind force, which will be used QZGCFAS. So we kind of convert these the basic wind speed and also the nugget P speed into the wind force, and then we would like to apply that onto our final element analysis. So as for the final element analysis, we start by making a prototype for 4x8 steel framed models, which is actually which have a stat that is being distributed by 12 inches center to center spacing, and afterward we and then we make the in the model we kind of make it as a tile constraint between the surface and the wall panel, so that the wall panel will stick together. And then also the boundary condition at the base model is fixed, so that there is no translation or rotation or any other deformations actually happen at the base, and to actually maximize their factual failure. And then in terms of the load, we because we in the as we consider as a freestanding wall, the load in the model will be considered at the 0.055 height centered at the and where the loads will be distributed. However, we have to couple in the models, because if we don't couple in the model, definitely when we use the sieving of the material, we will have these specific nodes where suddenly have the shape transformations. So as we want to distribute the wind load to the entire wind panel, a wall panel. So we kind of use the coupling to apply the wind force. After we apply all of the wind spool, and also after we have meshed properly, we start running, and we run total of 18 models and the dynamic and implicit analysis of 3 seconds. So this is the result. As we can see in the, we have the resultant U. We have in the X direction, Y direction, and Z directions. So for these displacements, we can actually see in here that all of these, from the left side, we can see the basic wind speed and their XYZ, and also for the nuggets wind speed will be on the right side. So all of these displacements, we can actually see that chipboard and the plywood board clearly show that there is a little, on a few or little, I mean, compared to the others, there's like very little deformations actually happen in terms of the displacements compared to the other materials, either enter the basic wind speed or enter the nugget wind speed. And whereas the gypsum board and also the WPC is trying to show like higher, or PVC tend to show higher deformation in terms of the displacement. However, all of these materials did not show any failures under both of these models. And let's move on to the wind spools and the displacements. As we can see in this the graph displacement of wind spools graph, we can see that the red line will be the metal frame where there's no wall panels has been stick to that, and then the other different types of wall will be colorized with different colors. And as we all can see from here is that the PVC wall seems to be the least or the most displaced material under the wind load, whereas the chipboard and the plywood board seems to show little deformation. It is not zero, it's just very small compared to the others, so it just very stick to the near zero. But whereas the other materials show respectively as they show in the diagram. So this we can conclude that this is because the PVC or the WPC seems to be because of their polyethylene characteristics, they are more flexible comparing to the others. So even though they don't show the complete failure, maybe they will be in the plasticity range, but there's no failure has been shown, although their displacements or the deformations is quite large comparing to the others. However, as for the collapse loads, the collapse load seems to be very different comparing to the displacement. So in this collapse loads, the highest would be turns out to be the WPC wall, and also the second comes with the plywood and the PVC wall. Whereas the lowest collapse load before their failure would be the chipboard, where it stands around 20,000 newtons. So it can be seen that even though the PVC wall and the WPC wall show the height deformation, it doesn't really, however, after even though they show the high deformation, that doesn't really mean that they have the failures have been studied at that deformations. So comparatively, even though the chipboard actually have a very low deformations, however, it has the least collapse load compared to the others. So as we can conclude in the summary, all of the 6 panels exhibit reductions for the displacement comparing to the metal frame only, and all of the 6 panels did not exhibit any sign of collapse under the both conditions. And WPC and PVC walls have the higher resistance to collapse loads despite showing the greater displacement under the wind load. While the chipboard has the lowest collapse load due to the ductility, even though they're demonstrated very little to no deformation under the bow of the wind load. Cement walls is higher in the collapse load and lesser in the displacement than the gypsum wall, and also the plywood and the chipbox are both demonstrated very little deformation under the wind load, but their collapse load of the plywood is 6 times more than the chip load. So as discussions, we can see that all of the 6 material does under the tropical cyclone circuit speeds only if these materials are actually for the earlier because I have conducted in the dry conditions. So all of the walls will demonstrate the same only if they are not exposed to the excessive water or their fire exposure. And also if all of the material are provided with adequate metal stuff of at least 12 inches spacing, and all of their metal panel will be attached to the metal frame, and proper nailing and riveting or screwing are actually done. And also the basic metal frame is not moved, and or there's no overturning or sliding happened. And if the materials proper mechanical properties of the materials are very consistent with the above load later, this kind of the similar data will actually be shown for the comparisons of these wall panels material. So this is the end of my presentation, and thank you so much.
So thank you very much, Mr. Yin. So we are now open the floor for any questions. If you want to raise up verbally, you can press on the right hand and unmute your microphone, or type it down in the chat. Please indicate your name, organization, and country. Thank you. We allow for 5 seconds to see anyone have any question or not, or anyone would like to type into the chat group in the Zoom chat. Since look like there's no question from the floor, so if there are no more questions, thank you. Thank you for the speaker from Myanmar, Mr. In
Thank you,
Win.
sir. Thank you,
So
sir.
we'd like to pass the floor to our host.
Thank you, Mr. Chin. I would now like to invite Mr. Yi-Win Ong to receive the Certificate of Appreciation for his presentation on a comparative study of deformations in various wall panels under the impact of Cyclone Nargis storm by using FEA analysis.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your time and your participation in today's event. Back to you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chin.
Thank you, Mr. Yin. Your finite element analysis is very comprehensive with 18 models has been conducted with 6 material. It's a very informative information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I pass the floor to our host, Dayang Wafika.
Can we call upon the next speaker, please? Mr. Chantiarith U from Cambodia. Mr. or Madam Chantiarith U, are you present?
Hello. The next presenter is Miss Chantara U from Cambodia. Are you ready? Hello. May I have the response from Mr. Chantaru O from Cambodia? Calling number 1. Calling second time. Mr. Chantaru O, Cambodia. Hello, calling number 3, Chantaru Oi from Cambodia. Are you in the Zoom now? This is your turn. to do the presentation. Since there's no response from this second presenter, I would like to request from our host whether we can go to the number third person, Mr. Srinyanis Joshi from India. Host, I pass back to you. Can you call this the number 3 presenter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chen. For paper ID FP056, Mr. Shriyansh Joshi from India. Are you present, sir? Madam? Mr. or Miss Shriyansh Joshi from India. Oh, Mr. Chen, I don't think the presenter is in attendance for his session or her session.
Yeah, I think number FP056, Mr. Yanzi Joshi from India. Are you in the Zoom now? Calling number 1. Calling second time. Mr. Yanzi Joshi from India. The topic is climate change policy and its strategy of civil engineering in India. Host, Tayang Wavika, maybe we wait for 1 minute for them to log in.
Okay, sure, Mr. Chen.
Yeah, because sometimes maybe the internet connection, so we allow them to have 1 minute or 2 minutes time. So in the meantime, while we are waiting for the presenter for FP095 of Cambodia and FP056 Joshi from India, can we call Mr. Wu Hong Tong from Vietnam for the paper FP089? Is our Vietnam presenter ready in the Zoom? If you are ready, maybe we go to you first. Yes, I see you. Host, can we let this FP089 Wu Hon Tong from Vietnam to do the presentation? That means that the sequence is changing from him as a number 2.
Okay, Mr. Chen, noted.
Right, yeah.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I would like to formally introduce Mr. Wu Hon Tong from Vietnam. The topic of his presentation is called Smart City Solution Increase the Quality of People's Life. So now the floor is yours. You can proceed now.
Can you see my screens?
Yes, I can see your first slide. Smart City Solution Increase the Quality of People's Life. Speaker Wu Hong Tong. You can proceed now.
Okay. Good morning. I present my project, Smart City Solution Increase the Quality of People's Life. Contain problem solution technology to implement the solution application effective solution some element reason. problem. We live in the world where everything can be connected through control model technology device which the one of improve the quality of life. The design and construction of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, in so smart city for the quality of people life in a very necessary. And strength in the context of international integration trade. Another reason in traffic and climate change in the for land and in healthcare. In a reason in the future is a smart city. And the solution architecture smart city and technology GIS in a big data, cloud computing, AI, and data analytics. Smart city in cloud, smart service, smart climate, smart healthcare in a citizen, and that for manager. On the traffic simulate of the combination to technology AI and GIS. When detect in vehicle cross the lane, the camera system will record and transfer data to the control center for analysis and offer handling plan. Solution in healthcare in COVID-19 main solution mainstream in AI using supervisor learning and segmentation machine learning model to identify infectious image. Solution in climate change, the closed warning systems by on open source GIS and cloud computing combined with MS message is built to monitor in the plus situation to high side in the Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And more AI technology is applied on the basis of collecting data of illustrated by universal technology to simulate to provide model to reflect inundation situation in the defined time and when in people of locate and of a plot. Here picture or plot in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Climate change here map to locate the plot location. Technology to implement to solution and technology big data, GIS, cloud computing, data analysis, AI. Application the solution is high effective and can be applied to this model with the Robin in Vietnam, serving to use smart city. Effective solution. Application of new technology such as cloud computing, GIS, and AI to solve the update and catch up with for technology strength to smart city robust as high economic efficient due to the initial in technology. The design cost is optimized. The implement is with and the not cost so much. The solution is self-designed and built by Vietnamese people, and also the cost is reduced, and we can successful in this in technology. And more robust health communities nature high interaction between the government and the people, and citizens benefit more and more access to model medical service. Quickly, everyone can monitor and check medical examination and treatment data in more scientific and transparent manner. Some implement research solution in the more thống nhất hospital in Ho Chi Minh City in the medicine decline when COVID-19 pandemic appear in the role in introduce application of AI and data in the medical field. In COVID-19 disease rapid and disease early warning system, the blood saline chain module possible in Ho Chi Minh Gich and 17 solution to present to the expert panel. In here, Pizza in the top 10 in Ho Chi Minh City. In the client management, in the demo and implement in Phuket client revision office in Bình Định, Province Việt Nam, Phú Mỹ, Quy Nhơn, Tây Sơn, Bình Định, Province Việt Nam. And healthcare recent project Bình Định Province plan calcium for evaluation and pursue classical push heal in meetings. Healthcare in the demo and implement thống nhất hospital Ho Chi Minh City at the military medical people and hospital. Department of Endocrinology Bình Định Province General Hospital Việt Nam. An Nhơn Medical Center, Quy Nhơn Orthopedic Hospital, AM Pierre Quy Nhơn, Bình Định Việt Nam. Link the models. Thank you. QA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu. So I pass the floor to the for question. Open the floor for any question that will anyone want to ask. You can either choose to raise up your hand by using the link, the clicking point, or type it down to the chat group. Please indicate your name, organization, and country if you have any question wanting to ask. Maybe we give about 5 seconds for people to think about the question.
Can you repeat QA question?
Yeah. Seems that there's no question is asking in the group chat, or there's no question in the anybody raise up the hand. So, but if there's no question, I have 2 questions for you. Since according to your slide, you mentioned about this is about using the artificial intelligence to collect the data. Am I right?
Okay. Smart City in Hồ Chí Minh, Việt Nam rồi. To project purpose. So that purpose people benefit more access, more medical service.
Okay.
Quickly and government and manager and show and monitor and control check multi model in dashboard, medical and healthcare and traffic and climate change. And more scientists in a temporary manner.
Okay, so I roughly understand your research area is combining of not only the medical care, because just now Mr. Wen mentioned about the medical care. In actual fact, your research is also consists of the climate data collection, traffic collection, and healthcare data collection. So thank you for your clarification. In addition to that, according to your last few slides, so you have mentioned about the AI application for your protecting of the is good for your protecting of this COVID-19 and pandemic. And you have submitted your proposal introduced to the doctor at Tiong Nan Hospital in the city, right, since July 2020. So I would like to just clarify or ask from you, what is the status now for your application since you have submission for approval last year, July 2020? Is there any status that respond to you? Mr. Wu, did you hear me?
Can you repeat me? I don't understand.
Oh, no, it's okay. I just want to further asking, because according to your slide and this paper, you have mentioned about July 2020. You have introduced it to the doctor in this at this Tiong Nan Hospital. So they are you mentioned that is still waiting for the approval. So is there any approval being granted for you to use this data collection?
Okay, and must be in to sit model and sit model in healthcare in the Microsoft in the demo in Thống Nhất Hospital. Thống Nhất Hospital in Hồ Chí Minh City thì I implement Thống Nhất Hospital.
Oh, that means that you already started implement it in Tiong Nhat Hospital in Ho Chi Minh City.
In Thống Nhất Hospital in Bình Định Robin and Bình Định Robin.
Okay.
In Ho Chi Minh City at military medical people hospital and Bình Định Province General Hospital, Việt Nam.
Okay, few hospital has been implement your this data collection in the medical field. All right. If there is no more question, so I would like to end this section. Thank you very much, Mr. Woon, for your this presentation and answer the question. And I would like to pass the floor to our host, Ms. Wafika.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Vu Huang Tuong to receive the Certificate of Appreciation for his presentation on Smart City Solution Increase the Quality of People's Lives. Thank you, sir, for your time and your participation in today's event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I pass the floor back to you, Mr. Chen.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Wafika. We have two presenters. Just now, there's not enough time to log in. I would like to inquire again whether Mr. Chantarit U from Cambodia, are you in the Zoom link now? Mr. Chantarit U from Cambodia. Ms. Wafika, did you see his name appear in the Zoom?
Not that I can find, Mr. Chen.
Okay, so I will give another one more call. The third calling, Mr. Chantarit U from Cambodia. for your topic, Cambodia current status policy and strategy on climate change in Cambodia. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. We passed this FP09 paper. So I would like to call the third presenter, the fourth time, from India, Sri Yanis Joshi. Calling second time, Mr. Shyanisi Joshi from India for the topic of climate change policy and its strategy of civil engineering in India. Ms. Wafika, host, can you help me to look for the name where it's already appear in the Zoom?
Sure, Mr. Chen, hold on, yeah.
Because we have 36 people logged in, try to find the name.
He or she is not in attendance, Mr. Chen.
Okay, we give one more chance. Third calling. Fourth time calling. Mr. Shyanisi Joshi from India for the topic of climate change policy and its strategy of civil engineering in India. 10 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sorry, I think this something wrong or maybe cannot connected to the internet. Thank you very much. I pass the floor. I thank you all the audience that attending this technical paper section. And I pass the floor to our host, Ms. Wafika.
Thank you, Mr. Chin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen.
Thank you.
Before we close this session, there is one speaker who was not able to make it to this presentation today, but he requested that I share his presentation, just a quick browse, just a look through. And for those of you who are interested, you may contact him. Okay, hold on. Yep. So this is the paper that he was supposed to present today. It's called Emerging Trends in Affordable Housing by Mr. Krishan Bihari from India.
Wording can increase or not? Sorry.
Can.
Ms. Wafika,
Okay.
the wording is very small for me to. Oh, okay, can see now.
Okay.
Thank
Can
you.
you
Thank
all
you. Thank
see
you.
the screen? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I will just skip browse through the pages. So if you are interested in any of the topics discussed in the paper, you may contact the author. You can find his email here. Okay.
Glass fiber, gypsum board technology, panel manufacturing. Mechanical property of panels.
Oh, Mr. Chin, I can see the presenter FP056, Mr. or Miss Shriyansh Joshi is entering the session.
All right.
Yes.
So I apologize for all the audience. If you have time to stay back, you are most welcome. FP0, what's the number?
FP056.
056. Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Yansi Joshi from India is in. May I have your response? Yeah, FP056. Yes, you're welcome, Mr. Yansi Joshi from India. The topic of his paper presentation is called Climate Change Policy and Strategy of Civil Engineering in India. Now the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes to do the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Please show your slide.
Sir, just showing it a minute.
All right. Since while we are waiting for the speaker to ready for the slide, so I would like to brief a bit for his topic. He's a research scholar. So the paper that he's presentation today is called Research with Another Gentleman, Gunja Chobi.
Gunjan.
Gunja, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Sir, 10 seconds maximum.
All right, 10 seconds. So the topic of his talking is about the construction strategy of the road transportation in India. So it's also linking back to this climate change. And then he will talk about the current trends and also the integrated civil structure. And also he will provide the moving towards a digitally monitored road network.
Sir,
All right.
yes, sir.
Yeah, you can start now.
Screen, sir, I'm not able to get the screen.
Oh, not able to share your slide to the screen.
Yes, sir.
Can you try again, sir?
No, I'm trying. So is it visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can see your slides.
Yes,
Okay.
we can see now.
So my topic is about the climate change policies and strategies of civil engineering for road transport in India. So there are the maximum possible ways which we can do in this road transport works. Firstly, talking about the climate change, there are the very much irregularities in the climate which are occurring here in India. As of now, it is winter here in the in India. It's winter season, but if you see outside, there's a continuous rain going on for last 2 days. That is not acceptable. It comes across February or early March, but there are the maximum time the climate is changing due to our we can say this habits, irregular habits we are doing, like in industries and many of the things, roads also. So irregular long-term shifts are there, and temperatures have changed a lot. It goes up to approximately 48 degrees centigrade in India in May or June first week. So maximum contribution is of industries, transportation, construction, land use also changed. Many places there are construction. If there would be a forest which are cut down for the development of the industries and many of the things like
Excuse
road
me,
highways.
Josie.
Ji, sir?
Your slide is not moving. It's stuck on the page 1. You need to turn to the second page or third page.
So I changed it, sir.
Yeah, the slide is on page 1. Yes.
Is it changing, sir?
Yeah, changing.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
All right.
Sir, in India, sir, as we see, many of the forests are cut down for the highway project, infrastructure projects, and this is also causing climate change also. And we are doing extensive agriculture, like using insecticides and pesticides, and uh, cutting of the burning of the residual which are there on the forest farms also. So it also causes temperature variations also. Climate change crisis, everyone knows it about the increased global warmings. What are the what are the things going on? Increased global warming, shrinking glaciers, higher temperatures, ecosystem imbalance, severe weather vulnerabilities, and irregular seismic activities. We can see it everywhere in every of the nations that it is going on. But we have to stop it, or we have to reduce it. The first word is reduce. So as a civil engineer, I would like to say that we are having many of the options which can be done to lower the carbon footprints, which we are generating in the this. Firstly, as I want to say that the first part of the becoming a savior, a sort of a savior, we have to do a designing that can be that will help in mitigation, to mitigate the risk of climate challenges. We have to also revise the existing laws. Many of the laws are getting changed here in India, like environmental laws. Some industries laws also they are changing. Many of them are into amendments, and many of the climate change policies are also taking into place, as our PM, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, he said in the last uh, climate change summit, which held last month only. We can also incorporate we have to take several steps, like creating awareness, making some digitalized. We have to do it digitalized, not by printing or something, giving advertisements on social media for climate change, targeting effective communications. Resource management, we have to resource management is the best part in which we have to which we are doing in the civil engineering works, like usage of plastic bags. We are using it to make the bricks out of it for construction purposes. Also, we are using it to fill the road base, like GSB. We do GSB, granular sub base, and after it we put a layer of plastic to make it proper and all weather road, which can also hold the water also, that will not percolate inside the sub base, causing that crackings on the roads also. Then structural planning, making it structural planning, we use maximum of the reused material, like CND waste or something like that. And last is the implementation. After structural planning, we do the implementation on the site. Wait, sir. Incorporating the roads, tunnels, and the current trends which are going on the projects. We are doing it on a simultaneous basis, like construction of roads and tunnels, bridges on a single node. This will help in the risk of less risk of accidents and natural mishaps. Tunnel slopes and flyovers and elevation shield are the which are being made to reduce the upcoming accidents, and also the smooth passage of the traffic, which will also cause which will also cause you less carbon emission, as there will be no stoppage of traffic or something like that. Here in India, we are using it in the all-weather road project, which is in the state of Uttarakhand, India, where we are using many of the locally resourced products, which will and no extra material has to be brought from the other states. That means less traffic will be coming from the other states, and carbon footprint will be less as compared to whole of the nation. We are also doing it with the help of the that is, if anywhere there is a traffic jam, we will get the notification when we enter the road, and by this we can also make the passage proper passage, that no jam would be there for a longer period, making it a shorter time. Internet of things, it is today's need, and we are using it as a climate sensors, for monitoring the this heavy rainfalls. Like in 2016, there was a heavy rainfall in the Uttarakhand state, and no one knew about it. It was stated more than 2 to 3 days after there was a high chance of rain. So these all climate sensors are also used there. Wind patterns, weather prediction scans, and rainfalls that can be properly measured with the sensors, which we are doing with the help of Internet of Things. Every data for the last 30 years have been put into the system that will analyze it and make it clear that what can happen in the next 7 days, 15 days, and 30 days. These all things are used to reduce the carbon footprints and also the proper passage of the passengers which are moving on it, passengers and goods also. That will also make help in saving the lives of the people which are traveling on it. So we are making this after in a conclusion, I would like to say that making it a complete wholesome project, we make it to reduce a passenger time, a proper passage for the goods that can reach the person, the last person on the area within a lesser span of time as compared today. Using all weather road, it will reduce the time approximately by 50 to 55%. If it takes 3 hours, it will take 1.5 hours to reach the place. So I would like to say that the complete project will be a great great that I would it will be a very beneficial for everyone. And also we are making it many of the places are getting forested, so reducing the carbon emission and environmental friendly work we are doing here. And we will also make it all over the India in the hill regions. And finally, I would like to say thank you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to share the screen with everyone. Any queries, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Shanesh Joshi. So I open the question to the floor. Is there any question from the floor? You can either raise up your hand in the chat group or unmute your microphone or type it out in the chat group. So we allow about 5 seconds for our audience to ask any question or to think about any question, and or you want to type it out in the chat group. So perhaps while we are waiting for the question to come in from the audience, I'm quite interested to know from Josie, you have mentioned about the application of the Internet of Things, IoT, innovation, like the climate sensor, enabling smart technology, and can enhance the weather forecasting and adapt to extreme events triggered by climate change. So
yes, sir.
Since you mentioned about using the IoT, how are you going to transmit the data to the center, the control center, in what type of method or methodology?
Sir, we are here using the decentralized locations, which will finally transfer the data to the centralized areas for getting the news to each and every of the person traveling on that road.
Excuse me, is there any audience that you forgot to unmute your mic? May I request the audience to mute your mic, please? Yes. Okay. Mr. Joshi, you can continue.
Sir, we are here using the decentralized areas, decentralized stations, rather say, that will collect the data and finally send it to the central location, which will give the news to each and every person who are traveling on the road.
Yeah,
And
but
wiring.
how you send the sensor collection of the data to your control center?
So
Using you.
yes,
Yeah. Yes.
yes, sir. Please continue.
You continue. Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, we are here laying the network of cables each and everywhere, wherever our recording stations are placed, that will give the data in a real time, not in the 2 or 3 hours. The
That
data will be
means
sent into.
now I can understand. That means that you are using this sensor connecting to the cable, either
Yes.
by maybe it's by using fiber optic cable,
Yes,
or
sir.
then to your control center. Then from
Yeah.
your control center, you will send out to the mobile phone for anything that collecting this data through the internet.
Yes, sir.
You are not using something like a technology using, we call it white space technology. That means that from your sensor collection of the data, that using a white space technology to transmit this data to your control center. Instead, you are using a physical cable.
Sir, many a places it will be a physical cable.
Okay, I just want
Many a
to
places.
understand. Yeah, because they are technology that you can use a white space.
Yes, sir.
WHITE, SPACE is a transmission of data technology. That means that it can reduce the cost of the laying of cable. But of course, this is down to there's a chances of people hacking. But this is the way that in future, maybe the industrial 4, since because you're talking about IoT. So this is one of the small knowledge that I know I can share with you. Right.
Sir,
Yeah, because
I'm
my background is an electrical engineer, so I roughly
okay.
know about this. Yeah.
Sir,
I
I
can't
just
ask.
know a little about this. Sir, by my side, I will say we use cables there to get the real-time data.
Yeah. All right.
As far as
Yeah.
plays,
Understand. Yeah. This will be more some sort of the current technology at the moment. But in future, they are doing some sort of this using the white space technology. It has been implemented in some of the country, but
okay.
it's still new. Okay. Thanks for your sharing.
Thank you, sir.
I think the time is up. I would like to pass the floor to our host, Miss Wafika. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. I would now like to invite our presenter, Mr. Shiansh Joshi, to receive his certificate of appreciation for his presentation on climate change policies and its strategies of civil engineering in India.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your time and your participation in today's event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Joshi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So now I think we can end the session because the third presenter, sorry, the second presenter for the paper FP095, Mr. Wu from Cambodia, not appear, right? I would like to double check whether it's appear or not. Miss Wafika, can you double check whether he's appearing in this Zoom?
Okay, sure, sir.
I can't see. Idada, right?
Nope.
Idada. Okay. Maybe we tutup lah. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for all the audience for your patience and listening to all these presenter. I think today is very well presented by all the presenter. Unfortunately, there's one presenter cannot attend. Before we log off, I would like to ask everyone to turn on your camera for a group photo so that we have a record, and also good for our this proof of attending this meeting for your continuous professional development point. Thank you very much, everyone. Can you please turn on your camera? Just a quick one. Miss Pavika, we allow them time to turn on the camera. Wait for a moment. Yeah. I think some is still coming in, turning on already, one by one. Okay. Anyway, there's a name appear on the Zoom here, right? All right. Oh, good morning, Abdullah Najib, my good friend. All right. Anyone? Okay. So, Miss Pavika, can you take a group photo?
Okay, everybody ready? Let me see. Okay. Okay, for the first page, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, the next page, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you
for participating today.
Thank you for the support for CAFEO39 and to our Brunei, Puja. Thank you very much.